Okay.
So, to start out with, just state your name and your last name and then spell it out.
Okay, my name is Kathy McCullough, KathyMcCullough.
So, I just want to start out. This isn't really one of the questions, just
Okay.
kind of to get me into asking you questions.
Okay.
Just start out by telling me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I was born in Rockford, Illinois, back in 1957, and lived in the area all my life. Have been working at Leibovitz Steel for 38 years, and I don't have any children. I do have a cat, and I've loved the Doors for a long time. We've lived up here for about 23 years, and my husband has a business down in Stillman Valley. And is that good?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
good.
good, it's good.
Okay.
And okay, so that's fine.
Okay.
So, how did Jim Morrison get into your life?
Okay, actually, my first introduction to the Doors was through Jose Feliciano. He sang Light My Fire. I believe that was back in the summer of 1968. And my mom loved the song, and she bought the 45, and we listened to that a lot. And I didn't really know of the Doors, other than that they had done that song, Light My Fire, that Jose Feliciano had done. And then the years went on. It was the spring of 1975. And I was driving home from this place that I was working at, and there was a terrible rainstorm. And it was so bad that I had to pull over to the side of the road. And on the radio came Riders on the Storm. Like right when I pulled over, the DJ said, I'm going to play a very appropriate song for the weather we're having. And it was Riders on the Storm, like I said. And I pretty much sat in the car on the side of the road because the rain was coming down so heavy. It was about the worst rainstorm I've ever driven in from then till now. And listened to the song Riders on the Storm. And then when the song was over, I took off. And he said it was the Doors. Jim Morrison and the Doors did that song. And ever since that moment, I've loved them. I just fell in love with them. And it's just something that I'll never forget. And it almost amazes me how much I loved him after really knowing nothing about him other than the Jose Feliciano song, him doing the Doors song. And it just was something I'll never forget.
That's really cool to have a song like that, soundtrack that moment in your life.
Yes, and it is my favorite song they've ever done. It's a very commercial song, and usually I don't like the commercial songs on groups, but for that reason, it is my absolute favorite.
I like it too. So, what part of Jim's art got you?
I would have to say it would be his lyrics. For the simple reason that they're so unique, and also they tend to be a little on the dark side, which I find rather interesting. That's about all.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Okay.
Let's darkness of it.
Yes. Now, is it okay if I put my glasses on
absolutely.
occasionally
Yeah, yeah.
for the next question? Okay.
So, how did Jim's music or poetry, help you in your personal life?
Okay, I would say for me, the music is almost like a mind altering drug, like a safe mind altering drug. It's in the since I first started liking them, it's like it would make me, if I was happy, it would make me happier. Just driving down the road when their song would come on the radio, and it still does to this day. I get very happy when I can hear one of their songs on the radio. And then, as far as being sad or depressed, their music really helped me. Okay, the music would distract me from what was bothering me, or it would be an escape, a very good escape. So their music has meant an awful lot to me through the years because it truly has gotten me through some very difficult times. It's been a good thing. And like I said, it's a safe drug.
Yeah, it's nice to have music that can speak to you in a way that other music can't, and just make you live in that moment, I guess. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. All right. Well, let me get a chance to.
I,
All right. So, how did Jim Morrison get into your life?
okay, basically, it was not really the Doors originally. It was Jose Feliciano did Light My Fire in the summer of 1968. And my mom loved the song and had me go out and buy the 45 for her. And we listened to it a lot. And I vaguely knew about the Doors from that song, but hardly anything did I know about them. Just that they did Light My Fire originally. And then in the spring of 1975, I was driving home from work, and there was a very bad rainstorm. So I had to pull over to the side of the road because I couldn't even see in front of the hood of the car. And I heard Riders on the Storm for the first time come on the radio. The disc jockey said, "This is Jim Morrison and the Doors, and it's very appropriate for the weather we're having." So I sat there in the car and listened to the whole song. And then when the song ended, the rain had let up. So I took off. And I'll just never forget it because ever since hearing that song, I love the Doors. And prior to that, I really didn't even know anything about them. So that was really a neat experience and something that I'll always remember. And it's definitely my favorite song that they ever did because of that also.
All right. So, going back to how did Jim's music poetry help you in your personal life?
Okay, basically, for me, the music is like a safe, mind altering drug in the sense that when I was real happy, the music would make me even happier. And when I was feeling sad or depressed, the music would help me escape the depression, the thoughts, or whatever was going on. So it was a good escape. It was a very good distraction also, the music. So I can't even say how much it's meant to me to be able to have that music to get out of some of the negativity. But it's definitely been there for the good times too.
Morrison inspire you and how?
Yes, he definitely inspired me. I had a very limited knowledge of music back in 75 when I first.
Did I ruin it?
Well, you distracted me.
That's all right.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
All right, so we were at.
Okay, so did Jim Morrison inspire you? Okay. Okay, Jim definitely inspired me. Back in 75, when I first started really getting into their music, I had a very limited knowledge on music. Basically, the pop music that was out on the, AM radio. And basically, Jim really got me loving the blues and jazz, which is something I don't even know that I really knew the words. So he definitely, absolutely inspired me.
I love jazz music.
Yes, I do too. Absolutely.
I just watched
Yeah.
I was in New York and I watched a nice little show and they were doing all Miles Davis.
Oh, that's awesome.
So next one. For you, what's the difference between listening to Doors and listening to any other music? Any other bands?
Okay, there's definitely a difference. That is the one thing I will really say about the Doors. In my opinion, there is no other band before, during, or after, right now, that can even come close to their sound. They're so unique. And they have a dark but uplifting quality about them. And one of my favorite things I've ever read about the Doors was a music critic said that he likened their music to eerie carnival music. And I thought that was such an interesting analogy in the sense that really carnivals are a lot of fun, but they are dark. So I thought that was a very interesting comparison.
That's cool. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know where I read it. It was a long time ago, but it was awesome.
Alright, so what part of Jim's art fits you the most? Music, poetry, film, and why?
Okay, I would say it's definitely the music. And for the simple fact that I have really always loved music from when I was very young. My mom and dad loved music. They played music all the time in the house on the record player. They obviously back then didn't have the technology they have nowadays, but every Saturday night they'd put on the records, Frank Sinatra, Barbra Streisand, Johnny Mathis. So I fell in love with music. But they didn't listen to the Doors. But yeah, I definitely love Jim's music. That's my favorite thing. And I would say, oh my gosh, I messed that up.
That's okay.
Okay. Um, the other thing, the reason I think I love his music so much is because I've always been interested in the dark side of a lot of things in life. So their music definitely attracted me because of that.
Take a second and get a different angle. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, that was. And the one thing I was doing that I probably shouldn't do, I have my glasses in my hand. I'm going like this. That's probably not good, is it?
It's okay.
Oh,
If you
okay.
can help it, it's okay.
Yeah.
So how did Jim's music poetry help you in your personal life?
Okay, Jim's poetry really helped me almost in the sense of a mind-altering drug, a safe one. It would make me happier when I was happy, and I would love to hear, I still do, I love to hear the music on the radio when it comes on the radio. It just instantly makes me really happy. And then when I was feeling depressed or had something bothering me, I would very often listen to the Doors, and it would be a great escape. It would also be a great distraction, where if I was really angry about something, not only depressed but angry, it would just make me almost forget about it. It's been a magical thing for me. And like I said, it is like a mind-altering drug, but a safe one.
Did Jim Morrison inspire you and how?
Yes, Jim inspired me greatly. I had a very limited knowledge of music back in the 70s when I first started loving the Doors. I started slowly but surely getting into a lot of different type of music, especially the jazz and the blues, which at the time when I first started liking the Doors, I didn't even know the words, jazz and blues. It was pretty much just a lot of the top 40 or whatever you want to call it back then as far as music that I liked. I mean, not that music wasn't good too, but he really, Jim and the Doors really helped me in that sense with really widening my music appreciation.
It's really cool that it does that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Naturally, it just,
Yeah.
If you like that kind of music, you're going to naturally want to open your mind to other
Yes.
So for you, what's the difference between listening to Doors and listening to another music band?
Okay, the difference is the Doors, in my opinion, there's never been another band like them in the past or recently. They're so unique. And they have a dark side to them, but I really like that aspect. And one of my favorite things is a music critic one time said in a interview, said that he likened the Doors music almost to be like an eerie carnival music. That's what he called their music. In the review is what it was. The review of an album that came out, I believe. He likened their music to eerie carnival music, which to me is very true because carnivals are fun, but they also have a dark element to them. So I thought that was a very good analogy. Okay, what part of Jim's art got me?
Yeah, what part of Jim's art fits you the most? Is the music, the poetry, the film?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the part of Jim's music that fits me the most is the part of Jim's art that fits me the most is the music. For the fact that I've loved music since I was very young, and it was just in my house. We played the record player every Saturday night. My mom and dad would listen to Frank Sinatra, Johnny Mathis, never the Doors, but So I started loving music at a very young age. And I do love the dark element in the Doors music. I think it just is so interesting.
All right. I hate to do this to you again, but
Okay.
let's go back to how did Jim Morrison get into your life? Let's hear that story.
Okay. Okay, the Doors first came into my life through not the Doors, but through Jose Feliciano. Back in the summer of '68, Jose Feliciano recorded Light My Fire. And my mom loved the song, and I grew to love it. I bought the 45 for her, and we just played it all the time in the house. And then a number of years later, in the spring of 1975, I was driving home from work, and there was a very bad rainstorm. And I had to pull over to the side of the road because I couldn't even see in front of the hood of the car. And on the radio came Riders on the Storm. I still remember it so clearly. The disc jockey said, "We have a perfect song for the weather conditions we're having right now." And so the Riders on the Storm started playing, and I sat in the car at the side of the road until the rain let up, and that just happened to be when the song ended. And then I took off, and from that moment, I just fell in love with the Doors and was so intrigued with that song. So that was my beginning of my love affair with the Doors and Jim Morrison.
Awesome, great. All right, now I can. All right. So I think the next one is what Doors song had the biggest impact on you and why?
Okay, the Doors song that had the biggest impact was definitely Riders on the Storm. And it was because of the situation where I was driving in my car. And prior to that, I'd heard of the Doors, but very little. And I can't really even explain how much within however long the song is, I went from really not really knowing about them much to absolutely loving that song, Riders on the Storm. And ever since that moment, in the spring of 1975, I've just loved them ever since then. So that's definitely the song. And I love all of them. I dearly love most of their music so much. But that would be the number one song.
So when that got you to fall in love with them in the first place?
Yes, that question wasn't on here. That threw me.
Yeah, really?
Hopefully there won't be any more of those.
How did you get to know that Jim Morrison was a poet?
Oh, these are questions that I didn't know about. Do you?
Just do the best you can.
Oh, okay. Okay, what's the question again?
So, how did you get to know that Jim Morrison was a poet?
Oh my gosh. It did take a while before I really realized that he was a poet. It all makes sense to me now, but I'm trying to think. I guess through reading the books. That definitely would be the biggest thing, and the thing that really makes a difference was back in '75, we didn't have the internet. I think Oliver Stone's book was probably the first book I ever read on Jim and the Doors. So there just was not the information out there. But I would say it had to have been probably through Oliver Stone's book. Did they do this on purpose?
Maybe.
They probably knew I was going to just overthink everything.
All right, how did you get to read his poetry? Is that in there? So does does that go back to Oliver Stone? Is that the only? How did you? In what ways did you get to read it? His poetry.
Okay. My mom bought me my first book, and the only book I have of Jim's poetry. And I wish she had signed the book. She passed away, and that book means so much to me because she had bought that for me. And at the time, when she gave me the book, I thought, oh, this is nice. And I'm not really sure when I received the book. I think it was right around the time Oliver Stone's movie came out. But that book means a lot to me. You know what? You know what I just thought? I think I said something wrong too. I think I said Oliver Stone's book. It was really Danny Sugarman and Jerry Hopkins. That's what I think he based the movie on a lot. That was bad, wasn't it?
Sorry, we can go back to that.
Okay, yes. Because that... See, this is what's going to throw me. Okay.
So where did we go with...
Okay.
It was, how did you get to know that Jim Morrison was a poet?
Okay, my first real knowledge of Jim being a poet was most likely through Danny Sugarman and Jerry Hopkins' book. And prior to that, I didn't really even know Jim was a poet. And now knowing how much it means to him, and that's the number one thing he wants to be known for, it's wonderful that there's so much out there now about it. Back then, there really wasn't, with not having the internet.
So how did Jim's art influence your thinking and the way you see life?
Okay, I was very sheltered growing up. So Jim's music and art really opened my mind in the sense that one of my favorite sayings is contempt without investigation. And Jim was very knowledgeable, very well read, to say the least. And I think it really helped me in that sense to just become more open-minded.
Right, so we said how did Jim's art influence your thinking and the way you see life? That's the one?
Yes. Well, I was very sheltered growing up, and I would say I was very narrow-minded from being sheltered. And Jim was very well-read, very insightful, to say the least. And one of my favorite sayings is contempt without investigation. And I think that was such an important thing. It made me investigate something before I really didn't like it. And if I investigated something and didn't like it, then that would be fine. But to just not like something with not really knowing, that's so wrong. And I would say that was a very big thing with the Doors. They definitely opened my mind to different things.
That's a good way of living, you know?
Yes.
Always try at least something once, you know?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
How did Jim change your life? And was it in a good way or in a bad way?
Loving the Doors has actually given me friends from all over the world. And in that, I mean by joining the different Doors groups that I am in on social media, I've truly met people from all over the world. And that never would have happened if it hadn't been for the Doors, because I would not have been in those groups. In fact, I talked to many people that are on, my friends from the town that I live in, and they are just amazed at how many people I've met through the Doors music groups from around the world. It's just been such a wonderful thing. And that's certainly a good thing. The bad thing is I end up spending too much time on social media, talking with these people, looking at all their posts. So it's time consuming, but it's a very big enjoyment. And that's definitely because of the Doors groups.
I didn't realize there was such a big community all over the world still.
Oh, it's shocking. I can't believe it to this day. I think I'm in 8 different Doors groups. And it's amazing. Vanda and Alex, they have my favorite group. But it's just unbelievable.
So, what do you think is so special about Jim's energy, since there's so many people around the world who still love Jim even 46 years after he died?
Okay, I think the big thing is Jim is 27 forever. And he was blessed with good looks. But the biggest thing is Jim's. Oh, that's terrible.
It's all right.
Just keep on going.
I mean, if you want to start over, you can.
Is it okay if I stop and then look down and then continue on? I don't have to freak out because I'm not going in a big. Okay. Okay, Jim is 27 forever. He will never get any older than that because he died at 27 years of age in 1971. And he was blessed with very good looks. And with him staying 27, that doesn't change. Jim was a very deep, intense person, and these qualities shine through in his art 100%. And I truly do believe that he will be loved as long as the earth is here. In other words, he will be loved until the music is literally over.
Kind of makes me legend, huh?
Yes. The reason I didn't want to goof that part up was because that's such an important question.
Why do you think it's important?
Because it is what keeps him alive still, is the people that love him, without a doubt. And I do give a lot of the credit to Ray, John, and Robbie for keeping the Doors and Jim Morrison alive also, without a doubt.
All right. Let me switch up the camera one more time.
Okay.
It'll be fun.
Okay.
I'll help you through it.
Okay, good.
All right. So this one, what story or event do you like most from Jim Morrison, The Doors history?
Oh, there's so many. My favorite, is it running, the camera? Oh my gosh. Can I think about it for a second? With the camera?
No, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
You can think of something else, maybe we can do two of them.
Okay, one of my favorite things, because I think it really showed the human side of Jim, because you see so much ridiculous stuff posted about him. This was an incident that Ray wrote about in his book, where Jim had been on a couple night bender, so he was pretty hungover and disheveled looking, I guess would be the correct term. And Jim came to where Ray and Dorothy were living, and Ray opened the door, and Jim looked a mess. And Ray said to Jim, "Jim, you need to get your hair cut." And Jim lost it. He was so furious. And he said to Ray, "Don't you ever tell me what to do again." And Ray said in the book, he was just amazed at how angry Jim got about Ray confronting him about cutting his hair. And that just was just the way it was written. I'm probably not explaining it well enough, but it was just really intense.
So it was intense, but you liked it because it showed him as a person, him as a human being.
Yes. And it was also something I had never read before. Something very personal that really affected Ray a lot. Was very taken back, very hurt, because the love between Ray and Jim was very strong. They had the book that I read that Ray wrote about Jim was in a sense a love story. Not your average, man and woman love story, but it was just a beautifully written book at how much Jim meant to Ray. And Ray was very hurt. But Jim had a dark side. And that's unfortunately, or fortunately, where all his good, I think a lot of his good poetry and music came from, was the dark side.
So, do you think of any other instances where, a moment or event where, maybe more positive that showed his humanity, that you eat that, yeah.
Okay, I can honestly say I think my favorite, or one of my top favorites, would be where Jim and the Doors were playing at the Whiskey, and Jim was improvising the end. And he started saying the part where "Mother, I won't say it, and they ended up getting kicked out of the club, basically, for him improvising that. I just think that was such a Jim moment, and it's just gone down in history. And it's such a great song, too.
Yeah, I feel like that's what made that song, that
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because it started off as just a love song, basically. Yeah, and it's dark. And it's very interesting, though. It's like, where was that coming from? Okay.
All right. So, the last question. How did you feel Jim's energy in the places he lived at Alta Cienega Hotel, or Last House on Norton Avenue? How did you feel Jim's energy in these places he lived, at his grave in Père I don't know how to pronounce that,
Père Lachaise? I believe that's how you pronounce it.
If you visited any of these places, I'll let you look at this one too. If you need a moment, we can.
Okay, I unfortunately have not had the luck of being able to visit any of these places, the cemetery, the house on Norton, or the Alta Cienega Hotel. It's a dream of mine to visit all three, especially Jim's grave in Pierre Lachaise. But I did have an incident down in Clearwater, Florida, and that's where Jim lived with his grandparents for a short while, where he actually ended up meeting Mary Werbelow. The house is actually torn down, but I drove to the lot, and I was standing there where the vacant lot was, and somebody actually was in the distance and yelled to me, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I go, "I'm here because Jim Morrison's grandparents used to live here." And the guy said, "Yeah, we get people all the time that come by here." And then he left. I had to laugh, but he left. And then I was standing there taking pictures. And all of a sudden, this unbelievable wind came up. This really warm breeze. And I can't explain it, but I really felt like Jim was there. It was such a strong feeling. And it's the closest place I've been to where he actually was. I wish the house had still been standing, but unfortunately, like I said, they had torn it down. But that was a wonderful memory and incident that happened to me.
All right. Well, I mean, is there anything else that we didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about or anything like that?
The only thing I will add with the one question that Vanda and Alex had was one of your favorite memories of Jim. It would be Danny Sugarman wrote a book, Wonderland Avenue. And in the book, Danny talked a lot about how wonderful Jim was to him. Danny was just a very young boy when he started doing the mail for the Doors, and Jim really welcomed him into their situation there at Elektra Records. And I just love hearing how nice Jim was to Danny. Yep. It's a wrap.